Chapter 7, The Final Awakening. James's body jerked violently as he woke this time, nearly falling off the bed. The realization hit him like a wave as he came to grips with what was happening. Tears streamed down his face as he mourned the people he had loved and who were now out of reach once more. He felt the loss deeply, this one being no different from each dream, leaving an indelible mark on his soul. A knock at the door pulled him from his thoughts. Wiping away the tears, he answered it to find Sarah standing there, concern etched on her face. "James, you were supposed to meet me at the coffee shop an hour ago. Are you all right?" "I'm sorry. I had another dream," James said, his voice trembling. "I feel like I've been gone for so long. Every time this happens, I struggle to remember the present. It begins to seem like a dream itself. For all I know, maybe it is. I feel so old. In my mind, I have lived over 200 years. I mean, I have lived every single second of it. I don't know if you can imagine what that is like, but I am so weary of all the emotional pain and never knowing when or what is next." Sarah looked at him with compassion. "Would you like to go back to the beach and talk about the lives you've lived? Maybe it will help to talk about them. You could tell me whatever you like." They sat at the beach, with James pouring out his heart about the memories he had. He talked a lot about his last dream but mentioned how his first dream, where it all began, was his favorite. "I thought I was insane for a while." He laughed. "Maybe I am. I loved the mountains and the ranch in general. That lifestyle was so peaceful and the scenery was so beautiful. I loved my wife and family, and it hurt so bad when I woke up realizing it was never real. It was devastating and still is. When I was there, it was like I was living in God's country. It was honestly a great life." They spent the day together, talking before James retired to his apartment, almost afraid to go to sleep for fear of what might happen. The next few weeks were filled with sadness, not just about the Alaskan life but all the lives he had lived. There were good and bad times in each life. More sessions with the hypnotist came and went, and though things were better, there was always that looming thought that it could happen at any time. One morning, as he was supposed to meet Sarah at the coffee shop, some young punks started harassing him on the sidewalk, demanding his money. They took his possessions, and when he tried to stop them, they pushed him backward into a lamppost. He sank to the ground, unconscious. Sarah saw the incident and called 911. She watched terrified as the ambulance drove away. She looked down where James had been lying only to see blood everywhere. She signaled for a taxi as James was whisked away to the hospital with a huge gash on the back of his head. James was awake when Sarah entered the room to visit. He looked up at Sarah. "I keep having flashbacks of that place in Montana I told you about, but only bits and pieces. I keep thinking it is real but then I wake up," he told her. Just then the doctor came in with bad news. "James, you have a severely fractured skull and there is bleeding inside. We need to operate now." Sarah held his hand. "I'll be waiting when you get out of surgery." Hours later, they wheeled James into ICU. After several days, they finally moved him to a private room, where Sarah came every day to visit, but James never woke up. The doctor told Sarah that he might never wake. The damage was extensive and only time would tell. One evening, as Sarah sat by James's side and was about to leave, she heard a faint whisper. She leaned in close and she heard him say, "I'm home and I won't be coming back." She felt his hand go limp and the heart monitor showed a straight line as nurses rushed in. Sarah had his body cremated. She drove with his ashes to Montana where she found a mountain overlooking a beautiful ranch valley. She thought it resembled the place that James had told her about. Slowly, she shook out his ashes in the air and watched as they drifted to the valley below. "You are finally home for good now, James."